Welcome to Smells Like Smoke. My name is Trevor DeVage. I am your host for this podcast where we talk about what it looks like to actually snatch people from the flames of judgment. Now, let me say something you probably already know, but might not want to admit. Nobody drifts into victory. Let me say it again. Nobody drifts into victory. No one accidentally becomes strong. No one casually builds a great marriage. No one unintentionally lives a meaningful life. And no one wakes up one day spiritually sharp by accident. Like, drift is real and drift is dangerous. Now, I don't know if you're like me. I've been watching the Winter Olympics. Now, I don't like to timestamp these episodes, but I'm watching the Winter Olympics. It is 2026 if you're listening to this in the future. But it's interesting. None of these athletes that have won drifted into victory. Do they all have some kind of God-given talent to be able to do what they do? They absolutely do. But it's been a lot of hard work to be victorious, to even get to the Olympics. Of all the athletes in the Olympics, there's a select few that are actually going to win a medal, but they're all at the Olympics. None of them drifted into this. And this is what you need to understand about drift. Drift is real and drift is dangerous because drift feels harmless. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't kick down the door. It doesn't wave red flags in your life. Drift is quiet. And if you don't recognize that it's there, drift will slowly pull you away from everything that matters in your life. So today, we're actually talking about what does it look like to be called, like the call of God in your life, the call that you've been called to in your life, the call to contend, the call to fight the right fight. And I'm not talking about for your right to party. It's the call to stop coasting and to start engaging is what we want to talk about. Because this is what I know about faith. Faith requires fight. Faith requires fight. So let me take you back for just like one moment. Like when I was in high school, I loved all sorts of sports, but I actually boxed in high school, not recreationally, not for fitness, but I actually trained in a real gym. And the first day I walked in, I was young, I was confident, and completely unaware of how little that I actually knew. And the trainer in that gym looked at me and he said something that I will never forget in my life. In this gym, we don't drift. And this is what he said. If you drift, you get hit a lot. And that line has actually stuck with me the rest of my life because boxing is not about aggression. It's about awareness. It's not about aggression. It's about awareness. It's actually harnessing aggression to become completely aware. And if your guard drops, you know what happens? You get punched in the face. If your feet stop moving, you're going to get hit a lot. If your focus slips, you get annihilated. See, you don't drift into victory in a ring. You don't. You contend. You get in a ring to contend. And the lesson applies far beyond boxing in our lives because drift is the enemy of most men that I know. It's the enemy. Drift is especially dangerous for us as men because drift doesn't feel like failure. It doesn't. It never feels like failure. It actually feels like relief. You stop pressing, you stop training, you stop paying attention, like all the things that go into victory, not because you quit, but because you got tired. See, men, you drift when you lose clarity. Men drift when you lose challenge. Men, you drift when you lose your purpose. We've all been there. And then we wonder why our faith feels dull, our marriages feel distant, our work feels empty, our edge feels gone. We wonder all those things. It's nothing dramatic that's happened in our life. That's not it at all. We just simply stopped fighting. And this is what I know about passivity. Passivity kills purpose. Passivity kills purpose. Like, as clearly as I can say it, passivity is not neutral. Passivity is what kills the purpose of your life. So when a man becomes passive, he does not become peaceful. He actually becomes distracted. He becomes disengaged. He becomes resentful. Those are the things that happen because deep down, men know that we're built to contend. We're built to fight, not with people, but for something. Don't fight with people, but fight for something. The Bible says to contend for the faith. So that word contend means to fight, to wrestle, to strain, or to refuse to give ground. That's what it means. Now, that doesn't mean being angry. It doesn't mean being engaged or disengaged. It means being engaged. And when we men stop engaging spiritually, everything else in our life starts to suffer. So why does faith require fight? Well, let's clear up a misunderstanding about it. Is faith is not about effort, but it does require intention. Like you don't fight to earn God's love. You fight because you already have God's love. That's why you fight. You fight distractions. You fight apathy. You fight drift. You fight lies that pull you away from what matters. No one fights these battles by accident. You actually have to choose to engage. And that choice is actually what separates drift from direction. You want to separate drift from direction. So where do men drift first? Well, let me name a few places that we men drift on a regular basis. A lot of us will drift in faith. You stop praying, not intentionally, just gradually. You wake up tired one day and you don't spend your time. Or maybe your marriage. You just stop pursuing. You still show up, but you stop engaging. You just kind of lay around and don't do anything. Maybe it's your integrity. You stop guarding small compromises, things that you would never let yourself dip into. You compromise just a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's a lot of it. Or maybe it's your purpose. You stop dreaming. You stop caring about what's next. You just kind of manage what's already there. In fact, this happens to a lot of guys in my profession, guys in the ministry. I've seen guys that have grown great churches and they get to a place of growth where the cost of continuing to dream is riskier for their future. So they stop dreaming. They don't take risks. They just manage till they retire. See, none of these drifts happen overnight. They actually happen one step at a time, one baby step at a time. Drift always starts small. That's why it's so dangerous. It's because it's always little. It's never the big things. It's the little things that get you there. It's death by a million paper cuts. I've talked to a lot of men in Tucson, right here where we are, who say something to this effect. I don't know when it happened. I just feel off. If you're sitting there going, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just feel off, can I tell you that's probably drift. These guys, they didn't rebel. They didn't blow things up. They just stopped contending. Like you desperately want to snatch people from the flames, but you're just kind of drifting through life. You can't snatch people drifting. And when you stop contending, something else starts controlling. Work, stress, escape, maybe comfort. I don't know what yours is, but rescue requires awareness. Let me say that again. Rescue requires awareness. And so does staying alive spiritually. It requires awareness. So let's start by identifying the drift. Let's get practical for a minute. I think here's a few questions worth sitting with in your soul. Here's one. Where have you stopped fighting? Like ask yourself that. Where have you stopped fighting in your life? What have you stopped fighting for? Where have you stopped fighting for your marriage or for the risk taking or whatever it is in your life? Or how about this one? Where have you gotten comfortable? Not just where have you stopped fighting, but then where have you gotten comfortable? Or how about this question? Where have you been passive instead of intentional? See, not in a shame way, but in an honest way, we've got to ask these questions. Drift cannot be corrected if it's not acknowledged. So if you feel like you're just kind of drifting through life right now, or you can't figure out why it feels the way it does, here's what I can tell you really quickly for us men is strong men will tell the truth early. We don't wait for the truth. We tell the truth early so we can deal with the things that are not true. See, contending without in our lives is where we drift. So how do we contend without becoming harsh? Because fighting sounds like we got to get mean, but let me say this so we understand this. Contending does not mean being angry. It doesn't mean being loud. It doesn't mean picking fights. That's not what contending is. But what it does mean, it means staying engaged. A boxer who swings wildly gets knocked out. A disciplined fighter stays focused. Same thing with your faith. You contend simply by showing up consistently, guarding your heart, staying accountable, like choosing obedience when it actually costs you something. See, that's strength. That's discipline. That's what we're called to. So what is the role of discipline then in our lives? Because discipline is not punishment. Contrary to what your kids think, discipline is not punishment. Discipline is actually direction. And men, can I just say something to you? We resist discipline because we think it limits freedom. Don't tell me what to do. Actually, being disciplined is what creates freedom. Let me say it again. Discipline creates freedom. Like why do I have the discipline of going to the gym every day? Because that discipline, as I get older, will create freedoms that if I don't keep myself in shape, I will not have. See, discipline creates freedom. A boxer trains so he can move freely in the ring. A man disciplines his life so he can live freely in the world around him. Discipline keeps drift from taking over. One of my favorite preachers, authors, speakers, Craig Groeschel, he's one of the most disciplined people I've ever met in my life. Like he eats the same thing every day at the same time in the same place. He goes to the gym at the same time. He gets to the office at the same time. He does all these things. He's been described by someone once as the most boring leader in America. And he said, I wear it as a badge of honor. Because those things free him up. That discipline frees him up to not drift, but to actually stay on mission. Now, if you open scripture, like you see Jesus understood this fight. Jesus had the discipline of withdrawing to pray. He resisted temptation. He stayed focused on his mission. Like he was relentless with it. He didn't drift into the cross. Look, don't miss this. Jesus did not drift to the cross. He walked towards it. And because he fought the fight, we don't have to fight alone. He empowers us to engage. So I want to close with a challenge. And here's your challenge this week. All of you that are listening to the Smells Like Smoke podcast, name one area where you've been drifting. Just one. Not 10, not 20, just one area where you've been drifting. And I want you to do me a favor. I want you to take one intentional step to re-engage. Just one step. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe you need to text someone. Maybe you need to schedule a time. Maybe you need to open the Bible. Maybe you need to have the conversation. Maybe you need to put your gym bag by the door so you actually go to the gym. Maybe you need to pray right when you get up before your feet hit the ground. See, nobody drifts into victory. It starts with small, intentional decisions. You contend your way to victory. And if you want others in your life to know the victory of Jesus, that's what this whole podcast is about. How do we help others? If you are not contending and you're drifting, you never snatch anybody from the flames. You don't drift people out of hell. You contend to get them away from the flame. So this is Smells Like Smoke. And I love this podcast. I love where we're headed. This is a podcast where we literally are stepping into the fight, not with fists, but with faith. So on the next episode, we're going to talk about fighting the right fight and why our battle is not with people, but it's actually for people. So if you would do me a favor this week, if you love the Make podcast that was before Smells Like Smoke, go back and listen to the Make. But if you love Smells Like Smoke, do me a favor. Leave us a review. give us feedback, and do me a favor, share this, put it out there for others. We don't charge for this podcast. We don't ask you to subscribe. The best way that you can actually tell us that you love this, share it with somebody else. Men, do me a favor. There's probably one man in your life you need to share this with them, and make sure that they get engaged and that you smell like smoke as you contend for the faith. Do me a favor, stay in the ring, stay engaged, and stay close to the fire. We'll be right back here next week.